Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Eliana Aaron. I'm here with the daily questions that are coming my way so that I can share the information with you. It is March 20th, and we're going to cover a bunch of subjects today. Obviously, very challenging for everybody to be going into Shabbat, and in many cases, can't make a minyan, can't go to minyan. Today, my husband davened on Zoom or in a minyan, but by himself in the living room. And so coming up with these creative ways is keeping people safe. And I'm very happy to report that. I'm going to start with some questions. I don't have any symptoms, but I do travel to work on some public transportation, and I want to have a test. Can I have a test? And the answer is no, not in Israel. The testing is reserved for people who meet the criteria of having major symptoms of the coronavirus. And that is a fever of 38 or more, a dry cough, and any kind of respiratory problem, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing. Those are the symptoms, and having those symptoms may indicate that you need to be tested, especially if you've had an exposure. Unfortunately, that's the system here. And in countries where they're doing more widespread testing for everybody, there are advantages and disadvantages, but that's the current standard in the United States, in most European countries, and certainly in Israel. I heard there is drive-through testing. Is that available? That is all being set up now in Israel. It's still in the process of being set up. I know that there's not a lot of information about it in English. It's not going to be a free-for-all where you just drive up and go there. It is going to be by appointments, and it will be done through the same channels that we've been using now, which is Magen David Adom and the Ministry of Health. But once you have a clear indication that you need to be tested, you'll be given an appointment at the local drive-through testing center, assuming you're well enough. If you're not well enough, Magen David Adom will still send somebody to your house to do the test. If you drive to a drive-through center, I will go through that. That's the next question, actually. If I have an appointment at a drive-through center, what does that mean and how do I do it? So the answer is that if you are in quarantine, which you should be because nobody is being tested who's not in quarantine, you need to wear a mask and gloves and drive yourself alone in the car to the driving center. You don't get out of your car. People in full quarantine gear or full hazmat gear are going to test you through the window. Just roll down your window and they go ahead and swab you. That involves swabbing the nostrils and the throat. And then you drive home and you go right back into bidud and you're quarantined. So that's the process. And Israel still has a pretty good return response time for testing. Usually within a day or two. There have been some issues, especially on weekends, but that's the general turnaround time for the test. Can I buy frozen vegetables? Do I need to wipe them down? Do I need to shrink wrapped food down? And what do I do about fresh food? So these are great questions. We know that the virus can be contagious by contact. That means that anybody who has it and then sneezes in the air and then the droplets eventually land, or they sneeze into their hand or into a tissue, and then they have residual droplets with the virus on their hands, and then they go touching all the produce and touching all the things in the store. And this is a way to get the virus. So what do? There aren't any protocols for this. I can tell you what I do, which is that when I bring things back from the store, anything that is sort of hermetically sealed, I pretty much just wipe down, because we all know that when we go to the store, we kind of look for things and we like squeeze all the vegetables to make sure they're fresh, and we like go through the different snacks and packages to find the one that we want or the size that we want for certain things, checking the expiration dates and then putting it back. So a lot of people are touching a lot of things, not even including all the people that are stocking the shelves. And I mean, I went to the store yesterday and half of the people in the store, their mask was here because, well, it's not comfortable and it kind of fogs up their glasses. And so I would say a quarter of the people, the mask was here and it didn't include the nose. And when you don't include the nose, it's not doing much because we breathe out of our nose and mouth. And when it's here, it's really doing nothing at all. So I actually went around saying, why do you have a mask if you're not wearing it? And I heard excuse after excuse. A couple of people actually said, oh, okay, and they put it back on where it's supposed to be. But this is a concern because honestly, with or without the mask, we don't know where their hands have been. We don't know what they've touched. We don't know who touched it before them. We know that the virus stays on objects for a long time. So how do you be smart? Yes, I wipe everything down. Okay, call me crazy, call me neurotic, but I spray everything with a bleach spray. I wipe it all down, rinse it off, dry it, and then put it on my shelves before it goes in the fridge or in my pantry. For fresh fruits and vegetables, assume everything is not clean. Okay, I do this anyway. I don't peel an orange until I have washed the orange. I don't eat an apple until I've washed the apple. So washing with soap and water like we do with our hands is pretty much all you can do with fruits and vegetables. When it comes to things like blueberries, which is a little more delicate of a fruit, I would suggest doing the best you can to rinse it off well, preferably with some kind of cleanser, and that should give you some protection. We can't do everything. And just, we're doing the best we can. That's all we can do. And that's my general guidance. Another question, I usually go to the Menmikvah. I'm taking care of an elderly person. Can I still go? They're letting 10 men wait around and only one person at a time going in. And I just don't think that's a good idea. I mean, I've never been to a Menmikvah before, but it's a minhag. It's not a halacha. It's not the Beit HaMikdash. It doesn't seem like a smart thing to do. It's an exposure for a minhag as opposed to, a minyan with 2 meters apart. It doesn't make sense to me. And especially if you're also working with someone who's very frail, I don't love that. So I just don't think it's smart. I think I'm not going to be a rabbi, don't have any intention or interest, but you can ask somebody. But that's my opinion. I don't think that's a smart move. And a women's mikvah is completely different. A women's mikvah, women do not come until they are really clean. I mean, that's the halacha. Men come, they don't even need to take a shower because it's a minhag. So those are 2 different things. Women are going to keep going to the mikvah. And the question is, do men have to? And the answer is, if men had to, all of them would do it. It's a minhag. So that's my opinion. Are people being tested who are having non-typical symptoms? And the answer is not in Israel. In Israel, you have to have one of the 3 symptoms I just listed, which is a fever of 38 or higher, a dry cough, and respiratory symptoms. Any of those with a potential exposure is something that could be tested. There are doctors now testing people with these symptoms even without a direct exposure. So that is happening. Once you have a referral from a doctor to be tested, then you do qualify to be tested. That has to all be coordinated with Magen David Adom. And so the answer is no, they're not doing that. So I hope this has been helpful. As far as what's going on in Israel, it's before Shabbat. We've had 28 confirmed new cases today, which is a lot less than yesterday at 244. But it's a lot earlier in the day than we had at midnight yesterday because of Shabbat. So hopefully we will hear only good things on Shabbat. There are now 15 people who are recovered, 14 people critical. That's a big jump, and some of them are quite ill. I hope everyone has them in their prayers over Shabbat. And you know, I hope everyone has a meaningful Shabbat, quiet and at home. And I will be back after Shabbat to answer more questions. If you have more questions, feel free to send them in. We're happy to get to everybody. Take care.